So good evening and welcome to the second live session of the Cohort 2 Connected School Administrators Academy. I'm Nancy Ekpezu and I'm the founder of the Connected School Administrators Academy. I'm the author of the book, The School Administrators Companion, Effective Boarding House Administration, and Dear Educator. Incidentally, I've run out of the copies I came to town with. And so I'm going to be starting right away the topic today, and I'm really excited about it. So today we're looking at creating an employee performance management, creating an employee performance management system. One of the things I noticed in the years where I was an administrator working in various schools was that we didn't really have a system. Every school that I took over, I noticed that there was no. Okay, apart from one school I worked in that had a proper performance management system, which was put together by an American that was the principal there. But the other schools really did not have a performance management system. Rather, what we had was something like maybe just end of year evaluation. They would just come and evaluate you and tell you this is how you're performing or this is how you're not. And even the school where we had the system, I wouldn't say it was as thorough as what I eventually developed later. So I had to, on my own research, and come up with my process for having a performance management system in school. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you this evening. And if you take it very seriously, believe me, it's a game changer in admin and in the performance of the staff. You know, most schools just start by having a template that the staff do not know about, or just doing their thing, and at the end of the school year they tell people you're not performing well, so you just start leaving, or yes, this one is happy, you're the staff of the year, with no proper criteria about who was chosen and who was not and why. So I'm going to start sharing my slides right away, and we'll get really deep into this tonight. Can you see the slides?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me scroll to the beginning. So remember, our topic is developing an employee performance management system. Please take note of that word system, because what most people do is just evaluation. Oh, let me go to the reading mode so that it will be wide enough to have everything clearly shown. All right, so that's the topic, developing an employee performance management system. I've already introduced myself, okay? I don't think I want to go through all of that now. And so the objectives for this training is to help us understand the need for performance management in our schools, because some people do not even know that there is a need for it. Some just, grapple in the dark and just, do trial and error, try here and there. Some get it right, some do not. And then to understand what performance management is and what it is not. Because most people think performance management is just about calling staff, evaluating them and telling them, okay, we sack you, we don't want you anymore, we're laying you off, you're not doing fine. It's a lot deeper than that and very wide. It's quite a wide scope. And then we'll also understand a simplified performance management process in the school system, which I have developed and which I've used over the years and has actually worked for me. And I've taught it to others and it has worked for them. So it is something I'm very confident to teach anywhere that I am, especially in our clients. To identify parameters for evaluating various cadres of school staff, and to introduce us to already prepared evaluation templates for various school staff. Okay, if you check my website, you'll see that there are various templates there for evaluating various cadres of staff. So I hope that you have your phone in the silent mode and that you take notes. You'll also, it's going to be interactive, so I'm going to be asking questions along the way. So please do make your contribution. And if you have any questions, you can type them in the comments. I'll always check that out. So let's start now. What comes to your mind when you hear the term performance management? What usually comes to your mind? Please don't look at Google. Just tell me your regular everyday words. Let me grab my bottle of water. I'm sweating because I just took my medication before I started. So let me see. Okay. So what comes to your mind usually when you think of the word of the term performance management? Ebereki, let's hear you.
Simply put, for me, it is knowing how employees or members of staff of an organization are doing, and seeing how to get them to do better. That's what I
Okay.
think.
Okay, that's fine. Julian, what comes to your mind?
Well, I'm actually going to use the topic to define it. I think it just involves managing employees' behavior. I think that's just it. Managing the way employees behave, so that everyone acts in order, in the right order. So
Okay.
everyone knows that there are principles that or policies that their employees should abide to or something.
Oh, okay, great. That's also a good one. At least you have an idea what that is, even though that's not really complete, but everybody has an idea. I wonder why others are not here. I know Antonia took permission. She has another training where she's actually taking part, but I don't know why the other two are not here. Temitope and Gideon. Okay, just so generally, the performance review process includes setting clear and specific performance expectations for each employee and providing periodic feedback about employee performance relative to those stated goals. If you check that, you see that we have clear and specific expectations, which a lot of schools do not do. Some schools just evaluate people without giving them expectations in the first place. And then we also have providing periodic feedback, okay, to those stated goals. But I'm going to go into detail, so let's just take it step by step. So performance management ought to be about aligning people's efforts to deliver what the organization needs and making sure people are clear about how they deliver the objectives of their job. How do they deliver? Do they even know their objectives? It starts with even people knowing the expectations that you have of them. I can't recount how many complaints I've heard from people who were laid off and were very shocked because no, the organization never even told them what the expectations were in the first place. So they did not know when they were meeting those expectations and when they were not. And at the end of the school year, a school owner just comes to them and says, oh, I'm sorry, you're not meeting our expectations, you're not performing, so you have to go. They get someone else. A year later, the same thing happens. And then the school never stops to ask, what exactly are our expectations? Did we even make this clear to these people before evaluating them and telling them that they did not meet the expectations? What were those expectations in the first place? You know, it should also help people perform of their best by helping them understand what great performance looks like and how far they are from it. You know, it's a process that should encourage people to go and be successful, not to run them down and keep telling them that they're not doing fine. Okay. So performance management is actually a continuous process. It is not just evaluation. And it starts from the day you employ, the day that you recruit someone, up to the day that they leave. Even though you're going to do it in cycles of maybe one school year, which is normally very immeasurable because you can measure what happens in a whole school year and break it down into 3 terms if you're running maybe a school that runs terms, or if you have a school that runs 2 semesters. I've worked in an American school where we had 2 semesters made up of 4 quarters, so we had to do evaluation every semester. I've also worked in a British school where we had to do, the terms, and then we had 3 terms, and we also did evaluation every term or a big one at the end of the school year. But basically, it is not just the evaluation; it's actually a continuous process, which we are going to look at. So the question now is, what exactly is performance management not? What is it not? Because we first need to know what it is not, so that we now define what exactly it is. So first, it is not about just the performance appraisal alone, which a lot of schools focus on, and they never make much progress, okay? So if you keep focusing on just having a template that is not known to the staff. And at the end of the school year, you now just come and fill it. The staff do not even know the parameters you're evaluating them on. They don't even know what process you're using, what parameters, and then you tell them, okay, this one is doing fine, this one is not. And then these elements of who you like and who you do not like, the likability of the staff now comes in, and emotions, override the whole process. So it is not just about the performance review or our appraisal alone. And it is not a way for managers to get back at their direct reports. You hear things like, I'll get back at you. I'm the one evaluating you. You will see now. So it's not a threat. It's not something to threaten staff with. Okay. It is not something to be done at the end of the school year alone. Yes, you may have an evaluation appraisal at the end of the school year, but that is not what performance management is all about. That is just a part of it. And it is not something to be done to the employee by his manager. It is actually a participatory process, and the employee and the line manager and employer are actually involved. So it is not something the manager just says, okay, I'm saying that you're not good in this area, full stop. The employee also needs to be given a chance to appraise himself. If you have a proper performance management system in place, then you must also allow the employee to evaluate himself on his performance. So performance management is not just a measurement system. It's not all about figures and who is performing well and who is not, who is the best staff of the year. All of those things are involved. But I just want to lay the foundation that is not what performance management strictly is. All of these things I've mentioned are involved in it, but please, it's not a way for managers to get back at their report. It's not a way for something to be done at the end of the school year. It's not something to be done by an employer, to be done by a manager to the employee or to his direct report to get back at him, not at all. And it's not just a measurement system. So performance management is actually a comprehensive system in which evaluation is just a part of the big picture. Performance management is the process of creating a workplace in which people are enabled to perform to the best of their abilities so that they meet the organization's goals and objectives. So let's take that. I'm not very big on definitions, but usually I like to lay the foundation for anything that I'm teaching on. But it is the process of creating a workplace in which people are enabled. So the question you should always ask as an administrator is, am I creating an enabling environment where people can work? And what are the steps? What are the things I can do to ensure that people are enabled to perform to the best of their abilities and meet the organization's goals and objectives? Okay? So performance management is an ongoing process of communication between a supervisor and an employee that occurs throughout the year. Take note, throughout the year. It is not just at the end of the school year. So it's not something you spring up a surprise at the end of the school year and say, okay, yes, I'm there, bingo, I'm catching you here. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. No, it's an ongoing process of communication between a supervisor and an employee that occurs throughout the year in support of accomplishing the strategic objectives of the organization. So the question is, if it's for the whole school year, in a school, our school year starts usually in September, right? It means that you can start setting your goals at the end of August. Remember, you usually resume just before the students come. So you use that period usually to set the goals and what you expect from the employees, so that from the beginning of the year, everybody is clear. There is communication between the manager, that's the administrator, or the supervisor, the line manager, whoever it is that is going to evaluate. There's ongoing communication, and that occurs throughout the school year. So you start with the planning, and everybody's clear what is expected of everyone in this school year, not just as an organization or as a school, but individually. As a teacher of year 3 students, what are the expectations of the school from you? And so the school must know the expectations and the employee must know the expectations. And these have to be clearly written down and signed. If you've ever heard the word KPI, I'm going to introduce you to it if you haven't. And Okay, so just take note of this definition because I think it worked very well for me. There is an ongoing process of communication between a supervisor and an employee that occurs throughout the year in support of accomplishing the strategic objectives. Remember, everything you're doing is to support that the goals are achieved, that the objectives of the organization are achieved. And doing that, you'll also develop the staff. So it's a process for acknowledging the outcomes of the performance review process that is documented between the manager and the employee. I'm just giving you various definitions, and I need you to start picturing that is a process and is a system. It's not just an activity you do at the end of the school year, like most people do. So you can see what I have here that is actually a process, okay? It's a process. So it is a way of creating a culture which encourages honest conversations and professional development in order to provide the best possible outcomes for the employees and, of course, the pupils who are our primary target for achieving. So why do you think we need a performance management in schools? I'm still going to teach you the whole process, but I need us to lay all of this foundation, like I've said. So let's hear you again. Berechi, why do you think we need a performance management system?
Just like you have said it anyway, it's for the organizational goals to be achieved, objectives and goals to be achieved in the long run. That's basically why a performance management system is required.
Okay, that's great. It helps us to achieve the organization's goals. Julian, why do you think we need that in our schools? Why does every school even need it?
I think it's important to create an enabling environment for the employees, and also to create a culture of honesty, that's good characteristics that at the end of the day, everyone is able to achieve the company or the organization's mission and vision and all of that.
Okay, great, really great. Okay, Temitope is here. She's joining so late. All right, so you've mentioned that, and those are really good points you have. There's something it does. It reveals to us areas where the employees need training and development and helps you in planning your staff development program. If you're a school administrator, one of the things you'll be doing is to develop your training and development plan, okay, for the teachers and for the admin staff, generally for the school. So first, it reveals areas where these people need training. You know, there are some people who just wake up, they see someone speak so well at an event, they say, oh, I like that person, just come and train in our school. Have you heard such things before? You know, so sometimes it might be what they need, sometimes it might not be. But when you have a proper performance management system in place, it's going to reveal areas where employees need training. For example, on my last job, I was able to pinpoint from the areas where staff members were struggling. I was able to come up with training that would help them specifically, not just generally for teachers, or every teacher needs this. Yes, there are some trainings every teacher will need, but there are some that specifically those in your school are going to need. And it is when you have a proper performance management system that this will be revealed, and then you can use that to plan. So if, for example, all the teachers keep making errors in their lesson planning, every lesson plan you check, there's a problem. You're not just satisfied. You just know that they're not getting it right. Maybe no hands-on activities for the children. It is too teacher-centered, and it's just coming like that with everybody. Definitely that reveals to you that this is an area where people need training on, okay? It means that they're not performing well in the area of planning their lessons. Or maybe it's even the kind of language they use, the kind of English. Then you know that, oh, we need someone to come and brush them up in this area. So when you have a proper performance management system, it is definitely going to reveal areas where there are gaps, okay, where you can have training and development in your organization. It also helps you to pick up serious performance problems so that you call them to order instead of waiting till they escalate into more complex problems. So if, for example, you even notice staff that have an attitude, maybe their emotional intelligence is poor, they are the ones that are always bickering and fighting, and it's something that you've talked to them about, then the evaluation will take note of that, because on your evaluation of every staff, there should be a place where interpersonal relationship with staff, with other employees is highlighted. So it will help you know areas that you need to pay attention to. Maybe they are always stepping on one another's toes, there are too many fights. Maybe there's a communication problem, because when there is a communication problem, it means that people will not understand one another. So maybe you need to teach them communication skills, maybe a bit of emotional intelligence skills, maybe interpersonal relationship skills and all of that. But it also helps you to know areas that there are problems. Maybe in the area of discipline of children, you still see that there are teachers who are struggling and they sneak to beat the children, flog them, even though your policy says that no flogging. You will know that maybe there's a performance problem in that area, in disciplining the children, and so they need help in this area. So instead of waiting until they now break a child's arm and you pretend that there's no problem, you highlight these areas and then you're able to nip it in the bud and find ways around it, either to create more stringent policies and how to help them to even obey those policies. It also allows for the exchange of feedback between managers and direct reports. It allows for the exchange of feedback between managers and direct reports. So it is not just the managers constantly telling the employees what to do. If you have a proper performance management system, you'll see that the staff will be able to come to you and to give you feedback, and you are also able to give them feedback about their performance. Then it helps to boost employee engagement and productivity. Some people resign from organizations because they are not engaged. They don't feel connected to it. There's nobody monitoring their performance. Some people just come to work when they feel like and do anything. Sooner or later, people get tired. Even though people assume that other employees do not like to be monitored, what they don't like is being micromanaged and being told everything. But as for someone helping them to grow on the job and monitoring what they do, believe me, it helps in engagement and productivity. And when there is a proper performance management system in place, it actually helps to boost engagement. And it has shown that when people are more engaged on their jobs, it actually boosts their productivity as well. It's also important for strategic planning, okay? So it helps you to assess the quality of the workforce, whether you are attracting and retaining talented workers. So if you're always laying off your staff, every end of year, you are laying off 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, what you may also need to ask is, do we have a proper recruitment process that makes us hire the right people? Are we making mistakes in our recruitment process? Is there something we're not doing right? Are we attracting the right people? Is there something we're doing? If they are the ones resigning and constantly leaving, is there something we're doing that is making them not to stay? So there are so many things that a good performance management system will help you to highlight and to reveal to you. It shows employees that they have the support of their line managers in achieving their goals, because whenever you set goals and you need to achieve them, there's that ongoing communication between you and the manager, between you and the administrator, between you and whoever is going to evaluate you. And so the person also will give you support. For example, my heads of schools of my last job had a lot of support from me. Even though I set very strict goals for them, I also had a way of nudging and pushing them to achieve those goals by sharing my own experiences, mentoring them, and also providing resources, books, online courses that are free. If I see something on Allison, if I see a web article that is nice, I'll usually forward to them. So they had a lot of support from me, and they could talk to me about areas where they were struggling. Maybe I wanted the elementary to grow from maybe, let's say, 150 to 300 kids or to 200, and they were not achieving it at the speed at which I thought. Then I would step in to ask what was going on. They would give me feedback, then we'll re-strategize. So that meant that they had support from me to even achieve the goals that we had set together. So it enables you to achieve the organization's goals and objectives, which is very important. And it helps you to plan for reward and recognition to deserving staff. I can count how many schools where end of the school year ends with a fight because the staff do not even know how the best staff of the year is chosen. They will say, oh, they are just being partial. They like this person. They like Mr. Akin. They like Mr. Tunde, or they like Mrs. Jane. That's why they chose her above us. But if there are criteria and everybody knows why this person is, how this person is performing, and is done in a transparent manner, then most likely, most people will know who is going to even be the staff of the year. Okay? So it helps you to plan for reward and recognition to deserving staff, not necessarily only staff of the year, even people who are improving on their job that you can recognize, people who are achieving in a certain aspect. They don't have to be the overall. They might just achieve a set, maybe in enrollment, they've been able to bring in quite a number of children. You can recognize them for it. Maybe for integrity, parents have highly endorsed them that they do their work with a high level of ethics, professionalism, integrity, and all of that. They can get rewarded to it for that. So it helps you to plan for reward and recognition to staff that deserve it. It also helps in succession planning and provides data over time, as vital inputs for long-term planning for future organizational leadership. If there are certain people, for example, who show signs of leadership, they're always taking initiatives. They want to head the events committee. They want to help this. They come up with suggestions. They are never the ones staying there and just complaining and grumbling like some staff members do. Then you recognize that, wow, this person has leadership potential. And maybe when the head of department is leaving, if this person leaves, this person can fit in there. Or if the head of school resigns, we have someone who can step in there because the person is showing those qualities that we desire for that position, and we can easily begin to train and groom them as a standby or something, for long-term planning should anybody in the leadership team leave. It also helps to determine the organization's method of selecting employees, if it is working well, to add to the workforce. I think I mentioned that earlier. And the data collected from the appraisal can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of the company's training and development programs. So even when you have developed your training and development programs, you now want to also use evaluation to check whether it's working. If, for example, in the past 2 years, you have mentioned that teachers, maybe you have mentioned in some particular teachers' evaluation reports that they need to work on their, let's say, record keeping, or timeliness in delivering their deliverables, maybe report card inputs and results, or maybe their lesson plans and all of that. So the data collected over time can be used for, to evaluate. So if you have done all of this and you have trained them on it, and you are still seeing signs that the same thing is happening, then you might want to check how they are being supervised. Maybe the problem is not only with the staff now, it might be with the manager who is actually directly in charge of that responsibility. So instead of constantly blaming the teacher, they're not turning in their lesson plan, it might be that you have to train the manager on proper supervision, because now you've trained the teachers, they write the lesson plan, maybe they don't bother to submit because nobody's actually checking. Or maybe the record keeping to show that they're actually submitting every Friday is not being entered by their supervisor. So it helps you see if the trainings you're doing are effective. It can also be used to help document decisions that may lead to lawsuits. For example, a well-documented personnel file, including a sound performance appraisal, will help the organization defeat claims of discrimination of an employee who was not meeting the required performance standards. So if someone says, okay, I'm taking people to court, you just laid me off and I was performing well, but you said I was not. If you have had your records for performance over the years, you can pull them out as evidence, even in a law court or, for anything. So it's very important that the documentation is done for performance management. It also for development purposes. So, appraisals can be used for individual employee development. So even for personal development, the things that, for example, the board pointed out to me that I needed to work on, formed my own plan for my personal development. I'll now take it on and say, okay, even if the organization is not training me or sending me for a training in this area, I can easily sponsor myself. I can decide on my own to start reading in those areas, start trying out things and start developing myself. So even as you make comments to people, to the employees or your subordinates on areas that they need to improve on in their performance, it's also an indicator for them that those are areas they need to take on their own and train themselves or develop themselves, whether the organization is sponsoring that or not. Okay, so that's basically that, okay? So the purpose is based, this is just a summary. It promotes, it tells how well we are doing a great job. It helps to celebrate people who are worthy of being celebrated. It helps us know what is working and what is not, helps us improve and to see what we can do better. Okay, helps, how do we evaluate the employees? How do we ensure that subordinates are doing the right thing? How do we motivate people to work? Now, this is the formula I have developed that I've taught. I've used it over the years. It's worked for me, like I said, and I've also taught it to several people, and it has worked for them in their schools. The first thing is that you must clearly communicate your school's vision. So this is how to develop your employee performance management system. The first thing is you as the leader, the administrator, the school owner, or whoever you are at the top must understand your vision and mission and core values and clearly communicate this to all the staff. It starts from there. Do they understand the vision of the school? Okay. Do they all understand what the vision is, what the mission is, what your core values are, and how you go about doing things in this place? Okay. For example, I worked in a school where our vision was to provide quality education in a safe and supportive environment that equips our students with the skills, knowledge, and attitudes to become productive global citizens. Now, that may look like something to just anybody, but in that school, that vision meant a lot. It meant that the environment had to be conducive, and we had to break the word down. What does it mean to be conducive? We had to have the right equipment. We had to have the right staff. We had to have so each word there meant something to us that provides quality education. What does quality education mean? And then we began to analyze it. What does it mean? It means kids are free to express themselves. It means kids own their learning process. It means that they are exposed to a whole lot. It means there's no rote teaching. It means that it is not a teacher-centered classroom we run. It means that children have to be exposed to 21st century methods. So we took time to analyze every word in our vision. Okay, a quality environment that equips our diverse students. It means the school will also admit students from any country. We're not tribal, we were not tribalistic, we were not ethnic based. We're open to having anybody from any country would be our students, and we should have what it takes to groom them to be who they are, to be productive global citizens. And it also meant that if we were saying that they had to do it through critical thinking, we couldn't have teachers who were brought in from the village. We had to also be sure that they had sound critical thinking. So that formed the way that we interviewed them. We're not just interviewing teachers who will come and write the typical lesson plan, teach this is the part of the roots, this is the leaf, this is the root of the plant, and this is this. We had to make sure that they also had to apply critical reasoning in the way that they went about their own lives if they were going to fit in there, because it was a very international community. So everything on that helped us to define what we were, how we went about doing things, who we recruited, who we wanted on our team. So that already helped us with our performance management, so that we're not struggling with all the wrong people who are coming to speak pidgin in the school and are coming there looking not fitting into that kind of international and global environment that we were trying to build. So the first step is clearly communicate the school's vision, the mission, and the core values to the staff. What are we about? Why was this school set up? Where are we heading? What do we do? What are we going to be known for? Then ensure that there's a proper structure or organogram, and that this is clearly communicated and understood by employees. Who reports to who? This is actually one of the topics I'll be taking. I think I'll take that next week, hopefully. So this is what structure is there? Because one of the struggles I've seen in schools is that people do not even know who is going to evaluate them. So at the end of the day, the head teacher stays at the head and just starts evaluating everybody, even when they do not interface with the people directly. And then there are issues in their evaluation and they start complaining, or the school administrator does not even know me, so how can she be the one evaluating? There must be an organogram. If the school has early years, primary, and then secondary, then the head of primary early years should evaluate directly those who are in early years, but have somebody who also oversees that. And then the head of elementary should evaluate everybody in the elementary or the primary. The head of the secondary should do the same. But there must be a concurrent evaluator who now overlooks everything so that nobody is taken advantage of. So you must have a structure. Who reports to who sets the goals with you, who is going to sign your evaluation sheet, who is going to appraise you. This must be clearly stated. So it is not at the end of the school year that you say, okay, you head teacher, go and appraise these people. You school administrator, do this one. All of this must be done at the beginning of the school year, and everybody knows who is going to appraise who, and develop a relationship with them and have goals properly set, okay? Ensure that everybody has and understands his or her job description, because it is from the job description that you're still going to draw on what they'll be doing, and then you now set specific goals for each school year. So the job descriptions will give a general overview of what they are meant to do and specifics on their job. But then you go a step further to set goals, which is the next step. Set goals. Remember the steps. They must understand the vision of the school, the mission, and have the core values of the school. Secondly, you must have an organogram. Who reports to who is going to evaluate who. Thirdly, they must have their job descriptions. Remember, everybody has a job description. And then you must also ensure that they understand all of this. And then set goals. Goals must be specific. At the beginning of the school year, maybe you want to grow your school from 200 children to 300. So be specific. This school year, from between September and July, between this year, September, and next year, July, we want to have grown by 100 new students. How are we going to go about it? You break it down. Every staff member is going to introduce 5 prospective parents. You give us the phone numbers, and then you give us their email addresses, and then we can follow up in admin. That is a goal, to introduce 5 new prospective parents to the school. And then maybe other specific goals in academics, maybe in the area of lesson planning. Maybe you've taught them a new way of doing it. You have to set a goal to see that this is enforced. You also have to set goals for learning, maybe also for the achievement of the children in external exams, and be very, very specific. Don't worry, by the time I show you the template, you might be able to have an idea what exactly goes on in that area. So you map out strategic goals for the organization and communicate same to all employees. So the strategic goals might be to grow in numbers, and then maybe in finance, this is what we're looking at, so that we'll be able to build a new block or whatever, okay? Or it could be to introduce new programs in the school. You just have to be specific to communicate this to everyone. So about goal setting, the goal setting should be participative. And usually we have the goal setting form. That's where a lot of schools miss it. You have the goal setting form where you set your KPIs, the key performance indicators. How do we even know when you have achieved this? So the effective goals should be participative, and that means it should involve the managers and also those who will be evaluated. So the employees will be directly involved. So both manager and individual employees should be involved in the development of goals to ensure understanding and commitment. So goals are not something that you just start using at the end of the school year to evaluate people when they do not even know what you have set as the expectations from the beginning. Goals should be documented and available for review and managed on a continuous basis and acknowledged. And they should be flexible enough to account for changing conditions. So there were times when I set goals, and midway we found out that we couldn't meet the goals. We'll now sit back and review. So these goals are not set on stone. They're not they're not carved on stone. And so you can say, okay, we've seen that this is already mid-year and we've not even scratched anywhere near here. It could even be that the school didn't have the resources that would aid the teachers in achieving some particular goals. So you might want to go back and review them. So set goals for each employee that will enable the organization to achieve its corporate goals with clear performance objectives and time frame. Usually I tell people that it's easier to set goals for a whole school year. So do one school year instead of doing 5 years at a stretch. You might have your organizational goals, but the ones you break down to each individual, please make sure that it falls within one school year so that it's something you can easily track and something they can still maintain the tempo and the energy to achieve between between September when the school year starts and July when it ends. And that's how most schools run. So now you have done this, remember, they will understand the vision and the mission. They will have their job descriptions. Everybody knows who they report to. There's an organogram. They have their job descriptions. You have set goals for the corporate organization. You have also broken down the goals for each person. You now develop an appraisal evaluation template. But what happens is most people start from here. They just carry the template at the end of the school year and start evaluating. And that's why there's so much confusion in performance management. So remember, it's a cycle. It's actually a system. And we've gone through the steps. So you now develop an appraisal evaluation template with parameters for evaluating each cadre of staff. So the template you use in evaluating a school principal or an admin officer is not the same you're going to use for a cleaner or a gate man because you're evaluating them on different things. So you must have specific parameters that you're evaluating the staff on. So that, and then this should be made known to all of them. As a matter of fact, evaluation is so that you give them the expo. So at the beginning of the school year where you have set this process in motion, you let them see the template so that they have a look at it and see areas where they need to improve, what you are going to actually evaluate them on and get used to it. So they should have a copy of it too, because they're also going to self-evaluate. And that's the international standard that every employee should evaluate himself before the manager evaluates him or her. So develop an appraisal or evaluation template with parameters for evaluating each cadre of staff. And there should be a concurrent evaluator who evaluates after the line manager. This is to avoid cases where people will say there's favoritism or they are getting back at me, or maybe I'm not getting on well with my line manager. I'll give you an example. On my last job, we had three, it was a cluster of 3 schools. We had the early years, we had primary, we had secondary. And then of course we had the boarding house, which was in the college. So the head of early years evaluated everybody in the early years, and I evaluated her and also checked everything she did with all the staff. So after she had evaluated everybody in early years, she passed them to me because I also related with them, but she was their direct boss. So, but she had to do the evaluation after they had evaluated themselves. And then I would come and check, the same with elementary, the same with the secondary, the same with the boarding house team. So I was like the concurrent evaluator who had to oversee what everybody else did. And if there were complaints where I saw variances between how the employee evaluated himself and how the line manager, maybe the head of elementary, head of early years, head of the secondary evaluated them, then I would have to step in to call a meeting. Or why are you people going back and forth? Why are you not agreeing on this? Or why is this? Then if there is evidence, they should keep evidence and always encourage that of everything that is going on. So that if you're evaluating someone, you can say, yes, this is the evidence. I sent emails on so occasions, the person didn't respond. I asked for deadline to be met, they didn't meet, and I have all the evidence. That makes it easier. Then I can say, okay, well, you evaluated yourself a 5, he evaluated you a 3, he has the evidence, you do not have the evidence. And so we go by what evidence we have. So there should be a concurrent evaluator who evaluates after the line manager. Then ensure that all employees understand the performance standards and expectations. That's why I said that template must be made known to them. It is not something you pull out at the end of the school year and just play on them. No, they must know from the beginning what exactly you're evaluating them on. Then have regular meetings with your direct reports and provide timely feedback so that nobody takes anyone by surprise at the end of the school year. So you should have meetings. They don't have to be all formal and strict meetings. You should keep an open door policy where someone can walk up to you and say, oh, Ms. Nancy, this number we are meant to get in as a new students. We're having a struggle here. We need the school bus to go out or to visit one or two places, but there's no fuel in it, or there's a problem, or we're facing a challenge here, or we're using our money to pay transport for the school business, which we shouldn't be doing. What can you do to help as the administrator? So when you're getting feedback, you know the challenges they are facing in trying to meet these goals and expectations that you have set, and you can step in to see how to offer support or to help them. Then the question is, how often should evaluation be done in a school? So what do you think, Ebere? How often do you think evaluation should be done in a school?
I would say termly.
Okay, termly, great. What about you, Julian?
Well, I think within a term at least, it should be done twice a term at the beginning, and in fact 3 times. Oh, sorry, I would say from the middle and at the end
of every term or every school year.
I would say middle of the term and end of the term. I think it should be done often.
That's like 6 times in a year.
Yes.
Okay, what about you, Tommy Tokpe?
I think once termly is okay at the end of the term.
Okay, yes. I think termly is fine too. Termly is fine. And in between, you just make sure there's ongoing communication. Some people do twice in a year. They do mid-school year evaluation, which is sometime in second term. And then they now do end of the school year, which is in third term. And that still works for them so long there is ongoing communication. I think it should be done at least twice in a school year. Some people do termly, which is fine. Some do not have the resources or whatever it takes to do it 3 times in a year, but 3 times is fine so that you have record of how they performed in first term, how they performed in second term, and you can track the progress at the end of the school year. But I've also worked in a school where we did that twice in a school year and it was still effective. Just that we made sure there was ongoing communication between the parties involved. So yes, twice is fine and thrice is even nicer. So you can have 3 formal performance reviews or appraisals in a school year. 1 every term is advisable, but if you cannot do once every term, because some people find it cumbersome to be doing all of that, having meetings with everybody and the paperwork involved, because some people use paper for it. On my last job, we were able to develop a digital appraisal system. Incidentally, I couldn't, because I did it specifically for the school, I had to leave it behind. It's not something I market outside since I developed it especially for a school. But a lot of schools use paper. And so sometimes maybe to cut down on the cost of paper, especially when it's a big school, they would rather do it twice instead of thrice because it also involves its own cost, in getting it done properly. So another thing is how we are able to get our staff to perform their duties. So to build a high performance work team, create standards that are perceived as fair and linked to the goals and success, and then build strategies. Some schools set goals that they know staff will never be able to achieve. Have you seen school owners who just come and bring very unrealistic goals? And maybe they are 15 this school year, they say they want to be 300 by next school year. Have you met such school owners? So it may discourage people because you keep stretching them and stretching, and they know that the goals you are setting are not achievable within the time frame, it creates a lot of tension and might make you lose your staff. So try to see that the goals and the standards are fair, and there are things that you can stretch the staff but not break them in the process. So provide feedback to employees from multiple sources. You might want to get feedback from the students about how the teachers are teaching. You might want to get feedback from the parents. You might want to get feedback about managers from their subordinates. So that it's not just only subordinates or the managers always telling you how everybody else is doing. How are they doing also? Okay. I've worked in a school that encouraged a bit of the 360-degree evaluation, but that should be handled carefully if it's a very political organization, because people can gang up and give you feedback about somebody that is not false. Once they know that they'll be asked their opinion, they can have a meeting behind and all gang up and say, this is what we're going to say about this person, maybe to discredit what they are doing or whatever. So you tread carefully if you're doing the 360-degree evaluation, where you have to ask everybody's input, okay? So I'm going to show you, I wrote this to remind myself that I'll need to show you samples of performance objectives and evaluation templates. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and let me see the templates that, okay, I'm going to share evaluation templates. So I think one or two people here have bought my evaluation templates, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And they are available on my website. I have them on sale for various cadre of staff. I have this is for the admin staff. So usually this is the employee performance evaluation. Like I've said, it is not something that you hide from the staff. Please show it to them at the beginning. After you've got all the process in place, you have they understand the school's vision, they have their job descriptions, there's an organogram, they know who is reporting to who and who is going to evaluate them. You have set the corporate goals, you have broken it down to the employees to set goals for them specifically. And then you have also created your templates. They should know the template, okay? And know the parameter, know everything about it and how you're going to use it. So that if there is any area where they are not meeting up, they'll be able to line up. The idea is not to catch the staff doing things wrong. The idea is to support them to do the right things and perform excellently to meet your organization's goals. Okay, so it looks like this. You have the employee's name here. So you type in his department, is he in art or primary? If your school is big, maybe it has a primary section, early years or secondary, you type that in. What's the employee's job title? Is that the admin officer? So this particular one is for administrative staff, this evaluation template I'm showing you, okay? So it has the review period. So you can say September 2021 to July 2022. And then you have date of employment. When was the person employed? Was the supervisor? Well, if you have staff ID, some schools have staff ID. I usually do that for schools I consult, where they have a staff identification number. And then the supervisor's designation, who is the reviewing supervisor? Is it the head of school? Maybe, or what's the person's name? Is that Mrs. Afolabi, Mrs. Temitope, Mrs. Who, or Mr. Who? What's his designation? Is that the head of school? Is that the head of admin? Is that the human resource manager who is directly supervising this staff? Okay, so you now have the rating. The rating, usually I use 5 points. I've also done templates where I use 4 points. It all depends on what I'm looking for or what I'm doing for the organization. So for O, usually O is for outstanding, and it has 5 points. The performance is superior, is superior to job expectations on a constant and sustained basis. So this person performs way above the expectations. Incidentally, on my last job, I had outstanding almost all the time from the school board. and they thought I was an exceptional administrator, and I was always so proud of that. So it's not a big deal to give someone outstanding if they're actually doing that, but you have to be sure they are really working up to that. Then E, exceeds expectation, a normal job expectation. This person goes beyond the call of duty. He's really excellent on his job. This one exceeds normal job requirements, can take inconveniences. You know, those people that you call at odd hours, they get the job done. This one will take initiative, do stuff. 3 will just meet expectations constantly. They are the regular people, they work, they meet the organization's expectations, and they are fine with that. They may not be the type that will respond to your email at 2 a.m., inconvenience themselves, go the extra mile, initiate things, do everything. They just meet your expectations and they are fine. If somebody has a point, 2 points, it means that the person needs improvement, and the performance does not meet most of the expectations. And if it is unsatisfactory, it means that immediate attention for improvement is required. If you have N8 is non-applicable, it means that the criterion does not apply to this position. So because we are looking at an administrative staff, let's just see what this could look like. You know that in administration, communication is very key, because the admin is the hub of the school. So we rate communication very high. So let's say that the parameter we're looking at here is communication. Does the employee clearly express ideas and readily share appropriate work-related information? When you have O here and you have E, and you see the O is outstanding, E is exceeds expectation, M is meets expectation, NI is needs improvement, and U is what? Unsatisfactory. So when you have S is for self, that is where the employee evaluates himself. So if, like I told you, the international standard is that the employee actually evaluates himself before the manager. So where you have M is the manager. So let's say I'm evaluating, let's say Eberechi now, and I'm saying Eberechi clearly expresses ideas and really shares appropriate work-related information. Let's say she has scored herself a 5. Okay, I can see comments now. Oh, someone says, I can't see what you're using. Really? You cannot see this template?
No.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry. Let me see what I can do. Let me open it here then. And then, okay, let me stop sharing and open it. I thought you were seeing, because I can see so clearly. I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. Let me just see. Let me open it here. Okay, I want to be sure that you can see it now. Sorry. Okay, so let me share screen now and get this in. Can you see it now?
Yes, now.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Yes, sir.
Because it was showing on mine, I thought you were seeing it. So okay, so I mean, I have to start all about that. I'm so sorry. So I said this form is actually for can you see admin staff? Can you see where I've highlighted?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll start all over. You fill in all these details. I've already explained that. So I'm going to go now to the rating. So I said for O is outstanding, okay, and E is exceeds expectation, M is meets expectation, NI needs improvement, U is unsatisfactory, and NA means not applicable. So if someone has 5 points, it means that they are, in fact, they work superior to even the goals you have set for them and the job expectation. These are exceptional people who go the extra mile, they're excellent on their job, they are basically outstanding, as the word says. They go the extra mile, their attitude is fine, no complaints, they just get the job done and even far exceed your expectation and go beyond the call of duty. If someone has an E, he exceeds normal job requirements or expectations, but maybe not as much as definitely not as much as someone who is outstanding. And if someone meets expectation, it means they just do what you ask them to do and they deliver. You are not complaining about them, but they don't really go the extra mile and all of that. No initiative, no, going the extra mile with all the enthusiasm and excitement, but there's nothing wrong or going wrong if they are doing their job. They just deliver, okay? And if someone needs improvement, that NI has 2 points. It means that the performance does not meet the objective and expectations a lot of the time. And if it's unsatisfactory, it means that immediate attention to improvement is required. So I started by saying that, remember, this is for admin staff, and there's a job evaluation for even management staff, that's the school leadership team, principal, head of school, and all that. You have for admin team, maybe the admin officer, you have for the accountant, you have for even gatemen, cleaners, then you have for the academic staff, the faculty, the teachers, okay? So this one now I'm showing you is actually for the admin staff. So I started by saying that the admin is the information hub of the school. And so they must be very strong on communication. And in admin, we value communication a lot. That's why you can see that one of the standards is communication. So anywhere you see O here, it means outstanding. When you see E, it means exceeds expectation. When you see M, it means meets expectation. When you see NI, it means needs improvement. And U means unsatisfactory. Remember, this is 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, and what? 1. Okay? So we are looking at the first parameter or standard here, which is communication, because we are dealing with people in admin and communication is key. So let's look at this now for communication. Let's say I'm evaluating, let's say Berechi now, and we're saying, does the employee clearly expresses ideas and readily shares appropriate work-related information? Apart from sharing, is it done timely? Is there always confusion in the area of timetable or whatever? If it's that there's never been issue, people don't come saying, oh, but I have this meeting here and I don't know where to be, or no complaints, no clashes in the communication, and no wrong information shared or information going out to them at the wrong time, then you would say that the person is doing very well, okay, based on the feedback that you get from staff and your own observation, and based on the goals you've set for them in communication. Newsletters must go out maybe every week or every month. If you check all of these and they've met them, and they've even gone the extra mile to initiate things in that area, to make recommendations for how communication can improve, devise a better way of doing this, then you might want to score them outstanding or exceeds expectation, depending on the extent they have gone. So this place where you have S is where the self-evaluation is. That's the employee evaluates himself. So because this is O, if the person says I have O here, then he types in a 5, okay? But if it's, then the manager now decides that 5 that the employee has evaluated himself, is that how we also perceive it? The manager might say 4, okay? At the end of the day, so long the manager has evidence that the person is not performing at a 5 but a 4, that is what will stand, even though the employee has already self-evaluated. The reason for that is sometimes people have a tendency to over-evaluate themselves, overpraise what they have done. But so long the employee in the self-appraisal has sufficient evidence, that stands. If the manager says 4 but does not have enough or concrete evidence to prove this wrong, then we take what the employee has said. And that means there must always be record keeping and evidence for everything that you do with the staff. That's why record keeping is very, very important. So you keep doing that, you evaluate, you check all of these. Oral, do they convey information in a clear written language? Do they use clear and appropriate language in writing? Are they always typos, errors in everything they do? Business meetings or things go out of minutes and there are so many errors, and all of that. Then you now check the work skills and knowledge. Do they demonstrate expertise in the functional aspects of the job? You also evaluate the same thing itself. The manager does. If it's all outstanding, exceeds expectation, meets expectation, needs improvement, just like that. Do they provide sound professional advice to solve organization's problems? Do they constantly adhere to the set work schedule, meeting deadlines and all of that? Do they demonstrate professional skills and knowledge of the responsibilities and duties assigned? So you check all of this. You check all of this. Very, very important. Then customer service. Remember, admin comes in contact with customers very easily. That's where you receive parents, they lodge complaints. So you also want to check out their customer service skills. Then you want to check out their technology skills. Remember, in admin, you're going to use computers, you're going to research, use the internet, use the typewriter, the photocopier, stenographer. Is there a stenographer there to work with them? Do they meet all these things? Do they do this? Do they have a proper maintenance culture of the equipment that I use? So all of these you evaluate as well, okay? And then you check problem solving and planning skills, interpersonal skills and work relationship, flexibility and adaptability, creativity and initiative. So all of this, you just go on and on and on. And at the end of the day, you now add up all the scores and divide by the total number of parameters that you're measuring with. That gives the average that the person has got. And that average will normally fall either in 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. So the overall will now tell whether the person is outstanding, meets expectation, needs improvement, or is not performing. And that's the U, which is, remember what the U stands for, which is undesirable, okay, unsatisfactory, which is undesirable. That's very undesirable performance. So that's how it is, okay? So that's basically it. And then you now make your comments as the line manager. I hope I'm clear on that. All right, so the same way you also have, let me see if I can get the one for the faculty. That's the teachers, okay? There's also the one for management team. Okay, so I'm trying to get them out so that we don't have the same problem when you said you were not seeing it. All right, so I'm going to now share. Let me share. Which one should I share next? We have done admin staff. Let me see for, let's say teachers, okay? Let's do teachers. Can you see for teachers now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's say this is the academic staff. Usually we call them faculty or academic staff or teaching staff, or you just say for teachers, okay? And you might want to differentiate the ones for early years, primary or secondary, depending on the exact things you want to evaluate them on, okay? So remember the rating is the same. Exceeds expectation, meets expectation, blah, 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 unsatisfactory and all of that. So you can see for teachers now, we have professional knowledge. Does the teacher demonstrate an understanding of the curriculum, subject content, and development of students by providing relevant learning experiences? So you now decide, is it a 5, is it a 4? If the person evaluates himself a 5 and the manager evaluates a 4, remember what I said about keeping a concrete evidence? So evidence will always trump and rule, you know. So we also now look at, so all of this effectively addresses appropriate curriculum standards, blah, 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 blah. So all of this demonstrates understanding of intellectual, social, emotional, and physical development of the age group of students. So all of these things you want under professional knowledge, we evaluate. Remember, S is for self, M is for the manager. Then instructional planning. And you see that the criteria, the parameters we're using to evaluate the faculty is different from the one we use for the admin staff. That's why I said for every cadre of staff, you have your evaluation templates, and you must make each group know exactly what it is you're using to evaluate them. So we cannot use this one now to evaluate admin staff, because what they do in the school is totally different from what the teachers do. So you can see for teachers now, we have instructional planning. So you now check all of this, blah, 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 how they do instructional delivery and classroom management. You check all of this criteria that we have under that parameter. And then we go on and on and on. Then the learning environment, encourages creativity in the students. Remember, for the teachers, you'll have to do classroom observations too. Several of them in a school year, at least 3, at least once every term, and maybe what we call the walkthrough, where you just breeze by 10 minutes, just observe how the lesson goes informally without announcing earlier. But you can also have the structured one where you inform them ahead of time before visiting. The problem with that is sometimes they put up their best behavior. So even things, hands-on activities or things they would not have for the children, they might want to introduce them, bring all the study aids, everything just to impress you. But you should also have informal walkthrough. We call them walkthrough, where you just breeze in and check what they're doing so that you have a knowledge of all of this and you're able to keep recorded evidence that will help you. Then of course, culture and people development. Okay, how is their rapport with children? Do they act as good role models for the kids? Are they ethical? All of these things come in here. Okay. Then a sense of community. Some people teach very well, but they do not have a sense of community. Do they belong to the school committee? Are they readily engaged in the school environment like that? Do they attend school events? Have they been involved with activities that tarnish the image of the school? Even things like social media, going on social media to be talking rubbish about your school. All of those things you have to take note, because ideally you should have policies that address those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with raising issues that have happened in the school, but going on social media to mention the name of the school, they put maybe students' pictures, other staff pictures, and going on and blabbing. Those are very not cultured things to do, and you would want to guard against that as a school administrator. So all these things should be addressed in the evaluation. Okay, and like the other one, you add up everything and divide by the number of criteria that you're doing, and that will land you in outstanding, exceeds expectation, meets expectation, needs improvement, or or the U. So the same thing, and you now do. So when people do not meet the requirements, when you have people who have unsatisfactory performance or needs improvement, what you do is you can set up an employee performance plan where you state the exact areas where they need help, and then start showing them, start putting out resources and activities that and the assistance you're going to provide to help them improve, and the activities that you will do specifically with them, and the target dates where you want them to improve in those areas. And then you can revisit that after 6 months to check how they're performing. Or maybe every 3 months, have meetings to review how they're doing and be receiving regular feedback. I don't know if you have questions on this. So that was it for teachers. Okay, it's already 8:19. We have last, how many minutes more? 11, right? Oh, okay, yeah, about that. About 20 more minutes, yeah. Okay, so let me see which other one I can show you. I've done admin staff, I've done, okay, let's look at the senior management. Can you see this one?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you can see that for every template, there are specific parameters that they're evaluated on. What we looked out for in the admin officer, admin staff, who might be the front desk officer, the admin officer, is very different from what we're looking for in the SLT, the senior management team. So in the senior management team now, remember, it's the same rating, so I won't go into details about that. S still stands for self, M for manager, E for, O, E, M, and all of those, they're all the same. So here, you can see now we're looking at school vision and leadership because the SLT provides leadership and vision for the school. We didn't put that on the teachers because what we're evaluating the school leadership team on is different. And so we have to set specific parameters that will help them perform on that role. And that's why some schools have problems because the same template they use for teachers, they'll use that for the senior leadership team, they'll use for everybody, and then there's confusion. So you see the school head of school behaving like a teacher. But when you're able to hold them accountable to certain parameters and expectations, and this is made known to them at the beginning, then everybody has to line up. Oh, we have just 9 more minutes. Usually I don't like to go beyond 1.5 hours so that we don't get bored. But I hope you're getting value from this and it's making sense and things you can readily apply. Okay, so you can see for the school leadership team, now we have school vision and leadership. And then we have instructional leadership because they are the people that are going to run, drive the curriculum, make sure that the teachers comply and all of that, okay? Create the culture in the school and maintain it. And then the management of learning. And then, of course, communication and community relations, which includes relating with students, staff, parents, and all of that. So the expectations from the school leadership team is different. And so the parameters that I use and have created for them are entirely different from the rest. Then, of course, professionalism and productivity and human resource management, organizational management, how they will manage impressed, assigned to them, all those things, you can decide to evaluate them. Business and customer growth, supervisory elements, how do they supervise? And then you now go on the same thing, you add up all of that and divide by the number of parameters to see where they land, whether it's a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1. Okay, so I'm tempted to stop here, but let me just see. So there are slides for even cleaners. There are, sorry, evaluation templates for even cleaners and others. But let me just see what we have here. I put this here to remind myself to show you all those templates. Okay, so remember that feedback is essential because it reinforces positive behavior. And when staff get it right, always be quick to recommend them and say, wow, you're being fine. It's not all the time they want to hear that they need to improve on this, improve on that. Always start with the positive when you're giving feedback. Tell them, wow, you're doing so well with your lesson planning, you're doing so well, but I need to see it reflected in the students' activities and not just on paper. I need to see this, we need to see that. So always start with the positive and encourage the development of desirable work habits. Assist them to achieve their goals and then all of that, okay? Okay, so a few things I want to point out. As much as possible, I know that there are personal elements involved in evaluation and in performance management, but please avoid personal bias and favoritism. One of the things that mess up a performance management system is when you start picking favorite, you have this favorite staff, you like this one above this, you like this. Judge people in the organization based on their inputs and their performance. Don't keep personal favorites among the staff. Avoid it as much as you can. It creates a lot of problems and discredits the whole performance management for you. And also, there's something we call the halo and horns effect, where an employee is highly competent or incompetent in one area, and because you judge them that way, you now start rating them either highly or lowly in other areas based on your perception in the other areas where they are doing well. I'll give you an example. Someone might be a very good teacher, but be a very poor manager of events. Someone might be a very good manager of events and everybody likes them, or they organize inter sports. Wow, that was fine. But they're not good teachers. They don't teach well. They don't engage the children in the classroom. So because everybody wows them, they wow everybody with their performance, maybe in event planning, and then everybody likes them. You might want to take on that credit and pass it on to how they relate to the children, which may not be which may be false. So you need to always assess every criteria independently and think that, well, okay, this person does well in events, but let me see how he or she performs in relating with parents, in entering report cards, in ensuring error-free report card, report writing, and all of that. So always avoid the halo and horns effect, where you generalize someone's appraisal or performance based on how you perceive them in one area. It's a common thing that managers do, and it should be avoided. Okay? And always have accurate information and be prepared. Remember, I talked about documentation. Emails help, memos help, queries help. All of those things are documented to show, even letters of recommendation. It doesn't always have to be negative, like a query or something. Sometimes even a letter just saying, a mail just saying, wow, you completed this job and it was so well done. Wow, your performance at the event was so great and blah, blah, blah. So if you now score the person high and someone says you're just playing favoritism, you have evidence and everybody can see it. So as much as possible, be transparent with your system. Okay. So let's have a recap quickly. So what have you picked from this session and how are you going to apply it? We have just a few minutes more. I like to keep it at 1.5 hours max so that you don't get bored. So let's hear from you. Just few sentences, few tips, what you picked from here and how you're going to apply it right away on your job. Okay, Temitope, let's hear you. Is it appropriate to use the same template for the session? Yes, it's fine. That's fine. So long it actually depicts what you're looking for for the whole session. Yes, it's fine. The same template can be used for the whole session. Okay. So let's hear you, Temitope.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'm sorry that I joined very late. I'm so sorry for that. But I enjoyed myself tonight. My take home will actually be the communicating the goals of the school with the teachers.
Okay.
Before now, I thought it's only the management staff or the management team that can have that information for them to plan strategically. Then you read as the admin, as the school administrator, then you relay the message to them. But now I got to know that even the teachers need to be in the knowing and in the planning, in carrying out the school goals together. So then another aspect is the way you map out the plans at the beginning of the term. Then when you are doing orientation, let me just use that. When you are doing orientation with the teachers or with the staff, what you want to achieve for that term, that we need to communicate with them at the beginning of the term, so everybody is on the same page.
Yeah.
Before now, in my school, we normally do only in academic area, not in other aspects. So that's my take home. So we're going to juggle everything together. I've jotted everything down. Then we need to keep telling ourselves the school policy, vision, mission, and the core value, so that we keep reiterating it for everybody to know, and that will guide our actions and our reactions in the school. So,
Okay, thank you
thank you.
so much, Temitope. Julian, let's hear you.
Okay, for me, I really did learn a lot. I don't even know where to start from. Well, I've actually been in a system where they give they say this employee of the month, and I'm actually wondering, as in, what are the criteria? And so for me, you really opened my eyes to see that when if what I got from you was that um it, if every employee, both the leaders and the teachers, if everyone must do their work, everyone has a standard or rules or policies and procedures to abide by. So I think it's necessary that everyone should have like a write-up. I don't know how to put it, like
I
maybe
think,
like standard operating like a standard operating procedure.
yeah,
Everyone should have that, so that every day you check and see where you fall in line or where you fall out of it. And I never knew that this employee performance management was expensive. So normally in schools we normally have meetings, but you open my eyes to see how large the this whole system, this whole procedure is. But I believe that at the end of the day, after, if a school actually implements this, at the end of the day, the system will have a good culture of honesty. Everyone will, the school will eventually achieve its vision and mission statement eventually. So
yeah,
I
because
think
you're
it's
carrying
amazing.
because you're carrying everybody along, and all of these things are documented. Very important.
And there's a lot of fairness. So
Exactly.
I think I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Bereki, let's hear you.
What I've learned is not far from what Temitope and Julian have both shared. It has been a very good class for me. I learned a lot today. For me, the take home, in addition, would be okay, like you, the performance management the system. It has to be something that's continuous. Looking into how everyone is doing with their jobs and all of that, and checking also parameters. It's one thing, what a staff might not be getting it right with something. Has the enabling environment been provided also for that person to do it, get it done properly? So I learned something there. It has to be something continuous, so that you check this both ends, check and see how um, the staff can be supported to get better. And like, there are those that are outstanding, there are those that exceed expectation. For those that need improvement, actually, to be able to move on to the next level. I also learned something. It's not all about queries. You can also send someone a mail to say, "Oh, you did very well." That's also something I think I would apply going forward. So also, yeah, give people pats on the back formally, not just hammering on what they didn't do right.
Yeah, usually when you hammer on all the things you're not doing right, you're not really encouraging them. I always tell people feedback from managers should always start with the positive. Start by saying the nice things you're doing and start that early, even in the school year. Wow, you're doing well with this, you're doing well. So when a query comes, they take it in a better mood and state of mind than when it's always the managers telling them, you have a query, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And they always wonder, what are the ones I'm doing right? You know? Okay, so I'm recording this, so I'm going to upload this hopefully tomorrow on the YouTube channel. And yeah, I'll also show you the one I did in the first cohort, just in case there are 1 or 2 points that I missed out here that you may get from there. You know, sometimes I don't take the sessions exactly the same way based on the people that I have in the class. So there might be 1 or 2 things you might also pick if you watch the other replay. So I'll send you both links. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, please pass them to the WhatsApp group and I'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you so much for your time and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much, ma. Good night.
Good night. Stop recording. Yeah.